Hello and welcome to this match preview for Southampton's first game at St Mary's this championship season against Norwich City. Now we're going to start off by talking about the Gillingham game because obviously that happened, about 5-6 hours ago. Obviously EFL, can't watch it. Obviously I've seen like the 2-minute highlights but couldn't watch it, so couldn't get the full scope of the performance. But from what I've heard, especially from Russell Martin and obviously some fans, wasn't exactly a good outing. Now, it's not exactly surprising. I mean, the starting 11, there's a lot of players you just don't really want in the team. But you're still expected at least to be competitive. And obviously, we weren't. We lost 3-1. And as Russell Martin said, and I've listened to his interview after the match, he was pretty honest about everything, really, and said that the youngsters were the only ones that really did anything bar, Stuart Armstrong and all those sort of players. So, yeah, the players like Burry, Lianco, McCarthy, shite. And exactly expected? Yes. Yes, exactly what we would expect from them. But yeah, so with that game, obviously a lot of meltdown as usual. For some reason, I don't know what it is, but the last 3 or 4 years, the Saints fans, I mean, I'm not speaking about all of them, obviously. We've got plenty of people with, screws left in, and we've got a lot of people with screws left out. Especially the people on Twitter just whining and whining and whining. It's like, Jesus Christ. One, let's get through a few things. One, B team / C team with youngsters. Two, literally an EFL Cup game. Obviously we want to win, but it's not that big of a deal. We obviously want to focus on the league more. For obvious reasons, we want to get back in the Premier League. And 3, shit happens. Sometimes it doesn't work out. It's not some fucking big deal like we went out there against Sheffield Wednesday with that team and then we went, 3 days later we're going to play against Gillingham with that team as well. You're not going to play your starting 11 from 3-4 days ago to play against Gillingham and then 3-4 days later play against Norwich. You're just not going to do that. And there's a reason why a majority of that squad that did play, or the starting 11 I should say, did play against Sheffield Wednesday, didn't go. And obviously there's heaps of rumours about players. Ward-Prowse now, apparently West Ham are pretty confident they can get a deal done. Obviously Liverpool and Lavia taking 15 fucking years to get anything done. But it's fine, bro. It's fine. Like everyone losing their shit about, possession. We have so much possession. We don't do anything with it. Brother, what are you talking about, mate? Honestly, against Sheffield Wednesday, yes, we had a lot of the ball. You could say a lot of the passes were sort of passive, but that's possession football. Have you watched possession football, mate? It's passive until it's not. And that's what he said in the interview. It's like, the whole point of the possession is to pass for a purpose, to build something. And against Gillingham, he quite literally said, there was no purpose. The passes weren't purposeful? Purposeful? Is that a word? I don't know. You know what I mean. That the passes weren't creating something. Alright? So it's not the position, we pass so much, we don't do anything with it. God, it's like you just can't win. Honestly, you just can't win with some fans. But yeah, let's have that done. And obviously McCarthy, when McCarthy's playing and we win a game, fucking heaven and hell are opening up. Alright? It's not possible. And obviously getting a clean sheet is not possible for him. But obviously, yeah, that's that for the Gillingham game. Let's move on to speaking very briefly about Norwich because I don't really know much about anything. Now, obviously, Norwich winning their first game, I guess, decently similar to us with a late goal. Obviously, 96 minutes, a bit later than ours, but a home win against Hull City. I'm just looking at the lineups because obviously I don't particularly know much about the championship. I'll be honest. There's going to be a lot of teams and players that I've never heard of before. Teams not so much, but players more. I mean, I know all the teams, but I've never watched us play against them per se. But it looks as though it's a 4-4-2 diamond, which is interesting. And looking at the stats, 28 shots, 58% possession. So it seemed as though they dominated, right? They were all over Hull City. And that's the thing that is interesting about this game, right? I don't know if you would put Norwich as a potential automatic title / second place finish. I obviously, as Norwich have been in the Premier League quite often, I would put them at least in playoffs. So this sort of game is not going to be like against Sheffield Wednesday, who are newly promoted. Their ambition is to stay in the league no matter what. Obviously, our ambition is to get promoted, and I'd say Norwich's would be maybe not to guarantee promotion, but at least playoffs, right? To have the chance at promotion. So this game, I'm actually very interested to see what happens here. Obviously, I would say Norwich City, as I just said, like top 6, you would expect. So we're playing against a good side in our first home game. Let's hope the atmosphere isn't shit, because we've seen a lot of the times where even in a fucking pre-season game, there's boos. Pre-season, where the results don't matter. We're still booing. Unreal. But I'm definitely excited to see what happens here. I'm excited about Russell Martin and about what he's building. I don't even know who the Norwich manager is. I don't really know most of the players. I know the striker, Adam Adar, because I signed him on FM. But that's about it, really. Angus Gunn, who conceded 9 when he was at Southampton. That's brilliant. But I don't particularly know. I don't know their style of play. I don't know anything like this because, honestly, I don't know shit about the championship. But I'm excited about this game because I think it's going to be 2 good sides playing, really. I'm actually excited to see this. I mean, it's time to stop waffling about Norwich because I don't really know until I'm just talking shit. But into my sort of preferred lineup. Now, obviously, I'm going to put this lineup out. More so with sort of, obviously last week I put Lavia as a starter, and now that he didn't start in that game, he didn't even come off the bench, didn't play at all in the Carabao Cup, I'm thinking that they just don't want to play him, which is completely understandable. I mean, if you have got a player who, granted he's one of our better players, right, but he's not particularly highly likely going to be here by the end of the window. There's not much point playing him, right? When it's Ward-Prowse, it's different. He's sort of the club leader. He's been one of the key players for years and years, and obviously has been at the club since he was 8. So that's a little bit of a different scenario. But with Lavia, it's more just like, I feel there's no point playing him unless you can guarantee he's going to be here by the end of the transfer window, which, I mean, it's potentially possible because Liverpool are being fucking stingy. But other than that, let's go through the lineup. Obviously, Gavin Bazunu starts. I mean, I don't need to really talk about that. McCarthy's wank. We signed a new third choice keeper, who probably should be second choice because McCarthy's awful. I don't know how good he is. I don't know anything about him, so he may be okay. But Bazunu is very much a ball-playing keeper, so he obviously fits the 80% fucking possession game that Russell Martin likes. Right back, Kyle Walker-Peters has to play. One of our better players against Sheffield Wednesday, one of the standouts, really. And he really suits the sort of inverted fullbacks that Russell Martin likes to play. And obviously that is because him and Manning sort of do have the technical ability to do it, especially Kyle Walker-Peters. He's brilliant on the ball, as we saw against Sheffield Wednesday. So obviously he's starting right back. Centre-backs, we don't really have many choices. Lianco's donkey. Kaltakar's now gone. Salazu's gone. Bella Kotchap's not fit. And obviously that leaves us Shay Charles, who I thought would actually play centre-back against Sheffield Wednesday because I thought he really wanted the whole composure playing out from the back, but obviously he didn't. I don't know if Shay Charles played centre-back or defensive mid against Gillingham. I wouldn't have a clue. But I would gather Shay Charles isn't in his plans to start, especially at centre-back, so it's probably going to be the same too. I'd say Stevens, Bednarak, and for me, that's probably the right choice. I mean, we don't really have many centre-backs. The only one that I would swap was when Bella Kotchap is fit to put him in, but that all depends on whether he's even going to be here. We don't know if he's going to be here. We don't know what's happening with that. And obviously on left back, Manning, granted, I think Perot's one of the players that sort of Russell Martin called out in the Gillingham game to be sort of thinking they're Premier League players but not performing, so I doubt he'd be in the team. So obviously Manning would be there, and obviously in a 4-3-3, whatever system, 4-2-3-1, whatever the fuck, right? It's a 4-4 with 3 midfielders and 3 attackers. I think it's just going to be the same. I mean, there's a reason why you rest people, right? It's to play them for the next game. So if he's rested a majority of the starting lineup from last league game against Sheffield Wednesday, you're expecting him to sort of play the same team. So I'm guessing the midfield trio will obviously be Smallbone, Ward-Prowse, and Alcaraz. I don't really see any change. The only change would be Lavia, but I don't believe he's going to be involved. He'll obviously be on the bench, but I don't think he'll be involved really in contention for starting spots until after the window if he's still here. And then attacking-wise, I think you've got to play Teller, right wing. He was brilliant. For me, left wing, I think Adozzi's brilliant, but I don't think we have really any other options. I mean, Gineppo's arse. Aribo, I don't think Aribo's much of a winger, to be honest. He doesn't have the pace to beat players. And obviously Sulemana, again, don't know if he's actually injured or he's just fucking waiting for a transfer. We don't know. So I honestly would prefer Sulemana, fully fit Sulemana, to be there, because he's sort of like a Dozy in the fact that his end product's pretty arse, but he does beat players easily. I do think Sulemana's better than Adozi, but Adozi was excellent against Sheffield Wednesday. So I feel as if, I would feel that Adozi could definitely be, him and Teller could definitely be a lot more threatening in the match against Norwich, because there's going to be a lot more space. Now against Sheffield Wednesday, obviously they went defensive or whatever, or counter-attacking or whatever you want to call it. They went very much defensive, right? And that didn't leave much space for Adam Armstrong, who I criticised in the game, for being sort of not really being able to get involved, which is not exactly his fault. No, it's not 100% his fault, but it's just that he didn't suit the way we sort of needed to play to beat a Sheffield Wednesday. But obviously Adozi and Teller played well against him, but I think with a bit more space, the speed of Teller, the speed of Adozi to get past players and then to get driven into the box, instead of sort of driving past them and then into the byline, you only really have one option to cross 45. Maybe against Norwich there'll be a bit more aggressive, I would gather, that we could get him behind a lot easier, and also get him behind to the point where Teller and Adozi can sort of run in on goal rather than running just to the byline, which would be nice, and use their pace, because Teller's rapid. So it'd be nice to get him in behind. And for this game, it's another thing. Adam Armstrong, right? This game could suit Adam Armstrong, getting in behind. For me personally, I just think Adams is the go, but Adams played a majority of the game against Gillingham. So it's sort of like, okay, so maybe he's planning for Adam Armstrong to be the main striker for Norwich game, and Adams being the super sub, and also Adams has question mark over his future, so that could be the same situation as Lavia, but a little bit more game time, I guess, because Lavia's bloody fucking mess of a situation's been on him for months. So I'm guessing the front three would be Teller, Dozy, Adam Armstrong. I would prefer Che Adams though. I think Che Adams is a much better striker. I've said this many times, much better striker overall. Yes, they both are pretty dodgy with finishing, but I do believe he's a much better striker in a lot of aspects, and he'll be a lot more physical. He can sort of do it all. He can get him behind. He can play pretty well with link up. I'd say probably better than Adam Armstrong by a mile in the build-up play. And then also sort of in the air physicality, getting him behind. He can do it all, really. He's not excellent at anything, but he's good enough at everything to be a threat from every position. So I think Che Adams would be a much better option, but obviously Adam Armstrong with a bit of space in behind could be a little bit deadly, but I guess that's what words. I guess that is left to be seen, if I could speak. But now we're going to talk about predictions. Obviously, Sheffield Wednesday game was quite an exciting game. Probably not for anyone but a Southampton fan, or probably boring for everyone else. Mostly because I've never seen us have the ball that much, and obviously a lot of confidence and bravery on the ball. So it was very impressive. Obviously, this will be the second championship game. Will we build off that, or will we sort of stumble a bit from the Gillingham sort of performance? We'll have to see. Thank you for being fucking loud. But I do think, considering a majority of the starting 11 from the Sheffield Wednesday game was not involved in the game against Gillingham, I don't think it's going to affect our sort of confidence or anything like that. I think it's going to be borderline the same 11 that started against Sheffield Wednesday. So I think we'll be fine in that aspect. It's really just going to be interesting how this sort of system, because obviously we are dodgy from set pieces, we are dodgy on the counters with our defence is not the greatest. And against the Sheffield Wednesday side, they did struggle to get forward, which benefited us, obviously. But against the Norwich team, who obviously are going to be a lot stronger in those regards, it may not be as easy to sort of have the ball, basically, 75, 80% or whatever we want. It's going to be difficult to keep the ball. And it'll be interesting to see how that sort of plays out. But I would say it could be an end-to-end game, obviously with possession and whatnot that we want. It really depends on how Norwich come. If they're going to come and try and counter, that would really depend on how hard they want to counter, really. Because obviously you've seen teams counter before that are absolutely excellent doing it and basically score every chance they get forward. And obviously I haven't seen Norwich. I don't know how clinical they are up front, but they did have 28 shots and scored 2. So I don't know. There's not really much you can take from that, really. But I think it could be an interesting game to see who gets in behind the most. There's a lot of pace on both teams, so it'll be interesting. I'm actually excited. I don't know. The championship is like a fresh start, a fresh sort of mentality, I guess, a mindset, where I'm going into every game where we are kind of not the favourites in every game, of course, but sort of expected to win and be competitive in every single game. Obviously in the Prem it's different, you know, that like especially last year, the top 12, it's like we didn't have a chance against, right? So, well, exactly. Actually, that's not right. We actually decided to get only points against the top 6, but you know what I mean. I'm excited. So my predictions, I'm waffling. Holy shit, I'm waffling. My predictions for this game. I wanna be confident to say a win, but from the Sheffield Wednesday game, it was good, but obviously a lot to improve on. I feel like a team like Norwich could have probably dealt us a ton of damage if we play the same exact way against them. Obviously, we probably won't because Russell Martin's a professional manager. I doubt he would fucking play exactly the same against another team. It's not FM. I'm going to go for a draw. I'll go for 1-1 draw. I think the atmosphere is going to play a massive part, and I feel as if the Southampton fans are butthurt babies, to be honest. I feel like as soon as something goes wrong, maybe we're losing at halftime, or maybe it's 0 or whatever, and we've had a lot of possession but not much, final third clinicalness. I feel like the fans are going to get on the back of some of the players and in the back of the team, and that's not exactly helpful. I mean, if you're booing in pre-seasons, you can easily boo in a normal game, right? And obviously it's different when you're playing away, because the away fans are quite typically the hardcore. They'll always support the team no matter what, no matter who we're playing against, no matter the result. But at home, it's different, right? It's different. It's easy for people to get frustrated and annoyed when you're not doing as they expect. So, yeah, it depends on the atmosphere. It'll be interesting to see how the atmosphere really is at St Mary's. But I'll go for a draw 1-0. I think Norwich are going to be a good side, and I think it could be 1-0 maybe. I think a draw, but maybe could be a lot of goals in this game, to be honest. But that's going to be it for this video. We'll be doing the watch along. It'll be the first one so far for the championship season. It's going to be at bloody 2 a.m. for me, so it's going to be fabulous. Hopefully it's worth getting up to watch. But yeah, so I'll see you boys then. I think the game in England's at 3 p.m, so I'll be live at 2:50. It's normally 10 minutes before kickoff is what I do. So I'll see you boys then. Obviously there'll be a poll on the community posts in the channel to vote what you think's going to happen. Norwich wins, Southampton win, whatever. So you can do that if you want. But I'll see you boys for the watch along, and let's hope for 2 from 2 in the league.